to this special Laity Week edition of Motivational Moments from the Bible. I'm Jennifer Haley.
And I'm Carol Phillips.
And we are the co-chairs of the newly formed governance board of First United Methodist Church, Elgin. Yesterday, we celebrated Laity Sunday in our church. The topic of the service came from 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 8 through 12. Rise up and reveal God's grace. It was beautiful. As co-chairs, we were asked to participate in the Laity Sunday service and to follow up with this motivational moment to briefly give an update on where this church is at with our new governance structure and where we're going with the new administrative process. Essentially, we were asked to talk about combining the 4 committees into one to do the business of church, thus freeing up many of the laity to do the ministry of the church, serve God and serve each other through ministry teams.
We struggled with how to share the message that our streamlined governance board is up and running, but our church's mission will not be attained through meetings. It will be through laity, rising up in ministry, and revealing God's grace. The message of critical importance is to faithfully engage every member in ministry through their time, talents, gifts, and service. So, we ask God, through prayer, how to share this message in a way that emphasizes and empowers that all members of our 3 congregations, in person, online, and the radio, have a role in this new structure and, in essence, the future of our beloved First United Methodist Church of Elgin.
God answered our cries for help by placing us in the middle of the Chicago Marathon. Literally, in the middle of the Chicago Marathon. God said, share the parable of the Chicago Marathon. Carol and I were visiting family in Chicago for the long holiday weekend. But we planned ahead that we were going to commute to Elgin for church on Sunday to be a part of worship and a Faith in Blue activity, which was a fellowship activity between our church and the Elgin Police Department. We were aware that there were going to be road closures beginning at 7 a.m. for the running of the Chicago Marathon, so we packed up our 2 dishes to pass and set off for church at 6:30 a.m. from John and Julie's Lakeshore Drive parking lot.
Within 2 blocks, we discovered that the roads were already closed to the north, to the south, to the east, and the west. We drove under police tape, around a couple of barriers. We even tried explaining to a very nice police officer that we needed to go past her and get to our church in Elgin. She didn't let us by. Soon we were surrounded by the marathon from all sides. We were trapped, frustrated, and guilt-ridden. It was here in these 8 hours, illegally parked in a bus stop, that this motivational moment message began to come together. God showed us, rise up and God's grace will shine through all. Learn from the marathon.
When we talked about the marathon, we only talked about the runners, the grueling training, the excitement at the starting line, and the thrill at the finish line. We thought that the runners were the only participants in the marathon, but we found out we were so wrong. We witnessed firsthand the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who gave of themselves in so many ways to make the 2022 Chicago Marathon a huge success. We realize now that it was each and every soul on or near the marathon course that was a necessary, valued participant in that event. There were all ages, colors, ethnicities, shapes, sizes, abilities, orientations, and politics working hand in hand towards success. There were some that were paid, of course, the organizers, the media, the security, the officials, even the elite runners. These are the professionals, and they are very necessary. But it was the sheer number of the runners who paid to run and the volunteers for every sort of task, the volunteers for setup, the volunteers for serving water, the volunteers for raking up garbage. You can imagine what a mess it was at times. Imagine the debris that's created by 40,000 runners. It got messy.
The volunteers provided first aid. They moved porta potties and encouraged the runners. There were also family, friends, and strangers joyfully shouting and cheering. We became participants in cheering on runners till the very end, and then we cheered on the cleanup. This was truly an inspiring, learning, living, loving experience. The 2022 Chicago Marathon was a huge success in every way because all are valued participants, all in service to each other.
It's important to note too that the planning and preparation and the volunteerism and the training began the very next day for the 2023 marathon. What joy! They rise up and they reveal God's grace. For First United Methodist Church, rise up and reveal God's grace. Just like the 22 marathon, all are loved, all are necessary, all are needed to participate, all are valued, all in service to God and each other. 2 Timothy 1, 8 through 12 calls each of us to be bold with the gifts that God has given us.
So ends this week's motivational moment from First United Methodist Church of Elgin. Thanks be to God.